talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power. Health. Wealth. Knowledge of self. Uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.
All right, family, thank you for tuning into today's show. We got a panel. We're going to be talking about the debate. We're going to be talking about who we should vote for, if we should vote at all. I know it's a lot of topics going on. Should we even vote? People saying vote for the lesser two evils. So let's see. We're going to talk about it, but let's start the intro and get the show going. Hold on one second.
You are now tuned in to Real Truth and Power, the show that uplifts the community with health, wealth, and knowledge of self. Here's your host, Everett Winchester.
All right, thank you for tuning into the Real Truth and Power broadcast. We provide health, wealth, and knowledge of self, and we're just trying to uplift the community. We're going to be talking, as you can see, we're going to be talking about the debate. I'm going to be bringing on some powerful brothers in our community. So let me bring them into the fray right now. Hold on one second. Peace and blessings, everybody. Peace and blessings. We got my brother to the right of me, Brother Jay Rich, and all the way to the right of him, Brother New One. So, first of all, let me have you guys introduce yourself, and we'll be having another guest, Rev John Moran, coming on shortly. Let me first let the guests introduce themselves and tell them a little bio about themselves, and then we're going to get into this powerful topic. We're going to start with Brother New One. Introduce yourself to the people. Hold on, let me unmute you, Nude. There you go.
All right, we're good. All right. Hey, everybody. New One. Peace to everyone. I'm a visual artist from Pittsburgh, living in Los Angeles. I'm down with the Seriously Joking Jay Rich. I'm his co-host. And that's about it.
And next we got a powerful brother, Brother Jay Rich. Introduce yourself to the people.
Jay Rich, down with my man New One on the Seriously Joking. One of the members of the UNIA for Baltimore chapter. And yeah, man, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us on.
All right, so let's just get back into it. First of all, we had a powerful debate. It was actually a crazy debate. And it was more entertaining and everything. We found out that we probably don't have a real good candidate, in my opinion. But I'm hearing a lot of people saying we need to vote for the lesser of two evils. So I wanted to start there. What do you feel about that, Noob, about the lesser of two evils? Do you agree that there's a lesser of two evils? Do you think Biden is a better candidate than Trump? Where do you think black people should go as far as voting?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I don't like either candidate. I'm not a fan of the concept of the lesser of two evils. I understand it. I'm not unreasonable. Like I get, in certain instances, if you do a checklist, one candidate may be better than the other in certain things. Like, one might be better with, going into stuff like domestic trade or foreign policy, things like that. It's gonna be, I get that, but I'm not, I don't really roll with that. I roll with the idea of you, if there's a candidate that you or a party that you support, you roll with that party. Take into account the potential concerns of people in the community that support the larger parties for practical reasons, and go from there. But no, I'm not a big fan of the lesser of two evils, although I understand it, and I don't begrudge or look down on anybody that goes that route. So
What's your opinion, brother Jay Rich? And that was interesting, Noob. I'm gonna counter off of that in a minute, but let me let Jay Rich get in. What do you think about the candidates and voting for the lesser of two evils? And do you
I
agree
think
with
that
brother Noob? And do you agree with brother Noob?
um I do to a certain extent where you just what I mean, where people just vote their party just to vote their party. Um I think that you should go with the person that's actually going to benefit you. So when I see, as we were talking before the show started, when I see that there are a lot of blacks that or the amount of blacks that support Trump. I mean, if these people are in business and doing like different trade, depending on what it is, what field they're in, and what what I mean, they're who they cater to, I can understand why you would support Trump, because he's probably passing laws and probably what I mean, doing certain things that benefit you. But if you are voting for somebody that's not going to do anything for you, what I mean, and they're just pandering to you just for your vote, then no, I think that you shouldn't vote for either one. That you should actually. I'm a big supporter of trying to get more than this one party system, and the only way to do that is to get people to actually vote somewhere else, vote for Green Party, vote for whoever else. Just stop voting for for the elite.
That's interesting. That's interesting. I just noticed we had a brother on here. Looks like he's a Trump supporter. Feel free to
Amen.
tell me what you feel, brother. It looks like it's a brother Abu Bakar. But let me go back to you, Noob, because you said something that was interesting, and I want to elaborate on that. Give you my opinion, and then elaborate on it about the political parties. I feel personally right now, as for Black people, we shouldn't be affiliated with either party. I don't think they do us well. I just think we need to be tight as a community. Maybe even have our own party where we can start putting pressure on politicians to start having a black agenda. I heard Miss Harris say that she isn't going to do anything particular for black people. She's going to do things for the country. And if you look at other races, other cultures, say the Jewish community, when they vote, they say, if you're not going to do anything for our agenda, then we're not going to vote for you. So when you say that as far as the party, go into that a little bit. What do you think about what I said about black people and the parties and, about candidates doing for the black community?
Oh, a vote should be a transactional process. You vote for a person who's going to either support you, listen to your needs, or or promote your wants and needs. And there's no part, being that there's just a two-party duopoly, nobody needs to do that, because you already know, Democrats already know 8 times out of 10 that the cat, black people are going to go with them because of a lot of issues with the Republicans as far as possible overt racism and things like that. And but that's why the evangelicals are, a lot of them are super Republican because they cater to that base. They build it and cater to it, and now not only that, but they've built institutions around it as well. And now they're like a big force. So I think there's not only the Jewish community, but a lot of different religious communities. We should take notes from them as far as what is possible for us as a voting bloc. Now, at the same time, there's going to be black people who are just conservative. So they would, naturally gravitate towards Republicans. Some of them do, and some of them don't, just because of, the, overt racism that they may or may not see. So, yeah, so, you're stuck with those two. But, in a lot of other countries, you have at least like 3 or 4, maybe 5, 6 parties. And I think that the more parties, without splitting the vote to, hundreds of percentage points, I think, a robust amount of parties would help not only the black community, but everybody and would help the country, because, you'd have a better chance of people being represented as they need to be. Whereas, right now, the Democrats, can pay lip service and, do cosmetic things like, do the kneeling once it's already cool. Like, you weren't kneeling when it was hot in the streets, like when Kaepernick was getting lit up all over, the internet and TV. There wasn't nobody kneeling, but now it's cool. So it's like, all right, yeah, we'll kneel, put some kente cloth on, and that's corny. So, yeah, just like support us, develop some policies that help the black community, help disadvantaged communities, and or keep it moving,
Now,
But
not to cut you off, and that was
no, no,
some great input. I just realized that you were the one person though, and I was looking for him, the one guy that's voting for Kanye, my man. Now, brother Jay Rich, um, brother Jay Rich,
I haven't heard his policies yet.
They might as well add him to the debate. It could be hilarious. Brother Jay Rich, let me ask you this real quick. Let me give your point, give your opinion on the debate as a whole. What did you think of the debate? And let me say first, I thought it was very entertaining, but I didn't even really get anything about the policies or anything. All I got was that each of them got caught in some kind of lie, and that was just pretty obvious that as both parties even admitted that, Democrat and Republican, there was some things that wasn't cleared up right. What do you think about both of the candidates and things of that nature?
The debate went exactly the way I thought that it would, which is the reason why this is really why I tuned into. It was very entertaining, but it was not what I would call informative on any level. I think that at this point, when and that's one of the things that I would have liked to have seen. I admit that Biden really didn't have an opportunity on a lot of opportunities to even talk about any of his policies. But when he was given the chance, and Trump finally, let him talk. Only thing he talked about was what Trump wasn't doing. Not what he would do. He just kept saying, I have a plan. I have a plan for this. I have a plan for that. I have a plan for this. But he never really said what that plan was. Trump kept saying the same thing. Oh no, we're handling this and we're doing this and we're doing that. But at this point, to be honest with you, I'm not going to sit here and say that Trump is a complete liar, because there are times where he actually does tell the truth. There's some times where he actually does do the right thing, and it seems odd, you know what I mean? But you have to give the man credit where, you know what I mean, where it's due. For him to come out now and be like, I have over $500 billion, you know what I mean, to go into the development of the black community and black economics, and try to make way for black businesses to get into certain business districts. I think it's a bunch of bull, because you could have did this 3 years ago when all of these riots and everything else started off. You could have stepped up to the podium and been like, you know what I mean, I can do like an executive order that start ejecting money into the black community. Let's come together, let's heal, let's stop like the riots. I hear you, I feel where you're coming from. Let's do this, let's do this, let's do this. But he didn't. He comes up and then, you know what I mean, a couple of months ago, he's like, oh, I'm gonna stop payroll tax, and if I'm reelected, then you ain't got to pay it back. You know what I mean? But if I'm not, you know what I mean? It's like he's throwing all this stuff out there just to try to buy votes, you know. But on the flip end, Biden is like, oh yeah, no, blacks are going to be a part of, you know what I mean, my economic development. But he's still talking about, you know what I mean, how we have to do sensitivity training for like the police. And to me, or whatever, that I'm just like, come on, stop, man, stop. Y'all been doing sensitivity training since what, for like the last 20, 30 years? It doesn't work, you know. It was anything but informative. It was very entertaining. I thought that towards the end that Trump really stepped over the line when he started talking about this dude's son, man. And he had one son that died, and then the other one, he was like, oh, he got kicked out of the army because he was a cokehead and he's taking money from Russia. I was like, wow, man, this dude getting real personal. You know what I mean? What does that got to do with this debate? You know what I mean? And every time they asked him about Corona, he just kept blaming China. He wouldn't take any personal responsibility for anything. It was just, China did this, China did that. Joe, you wouldn't have done any better. Like millions of people would have died under your watch. He never took any personal responsibility for anything that actually failed. As a matter of fact, he never admitted that anything failed, and absolutely everything that he's done has been nothing less than excellence.
I'm sorry, I was looking at a comment, Brother Jay Rich. Brother Abubakar said, I think we have to go on with Trump so that we will be going with the present policy, so that not to open another policy that we are not yet reached black community has to put on our policy first to prepare for 2024. Let me ask you that first, new one. What do you think of that? And this is a brother now. He's saying vote for Trump and keep the same policies in place. But before you respond, let me respond to the brother. What policies are there that's uplifting our community? Where's the reparations policy? Where's the policy that's going to clean up our neighborhood? Where is that? If that policy's not in play, then why vote for Trump? That's my question. There's no policies to help them, so I'm interested in what you guys got to say, and hopefully the brother will respond. Go ahead, Nude.
Right. Well, I'm thinking maybe he's talking about the recidivism policies that he's had. That's the only thing that I can think of that's been, of benefit to the community, to a certain segment of the black community. But in other places, his environmental record is terrible. And I think when we're talking about like environmental concerns and like the EPA, that's something that gets kind of overlooked when we talk about the black community, because we are in situations where those affect us more than other communities immediately. You know what I mean? When you go from like Flint to even in Baltimore, they're talking about, water issues. There's basically water issues everywhere in the country on the low. Like every major city and even smaller cities have water issues stemming from trying to privatize the local water. And yeah, so I don't agree with that as far as keeping whatever policies are there, even if, like, say you had like 10 policies set up. If they're not effective, it doesn't matter, and we can I think that's something that can be moved on with quickly if we have something that's more substantive and has a greater effect on the community's well-being.
I got you. What about you, Jay Rich? What do you think about what the brother Abu Bakr said?
I think that the policies that are in place right now are in place for certain people that are in an economic situation that we are not in. That the policies that are in place are to enrich the already rich. There's absolutely nothing to do for any poor community. And that's whether we're talking about a black poor community, a white poor community, a Hispanic poor community. The poor in America are not benefiting from any of this. You have watched in your lifetime one of the, if not the biggest transference of wealth that happened when this so-called pandemic hit, when they transferred billions, if not trillions of dollars from us, from out of from the government to the filthy rich. Billionaires almost doubled the amount of money that they had, all from these programs that and these policies that were put in place. And they were put in place by Democrats and Republicans. And that's a very important thing that you have to realize. One of the biggest things, one of the true tale things that Trump said at like a debate, and this is what I said, when sometimes this dude tells the truth. He's saying that he's going to be able to, by the time, November, whatever, December rolls around, he's going to be able to appoint 2 Supreme Court justices and over 300 judges. And why is that? Because Obama and Biden left over 120 vacancies open. That opened the door for him to be able to do the things that he is doing. Then don't think that Democrats are not approving these judges, because they are. Man, they are pushing these cats in, man. These vacancies aren't open for long.
Mm-hmm.
The other policy is that is when the protest started off, let's not forget the same person that's talking about all this stuff that he wants to do, for Black America, is the same ones that said as soon as the looting starts, the shooting starts. Let's not forget that he's the same person that keeps using like these code words like law and order, which pretty much means shoot, arrest, stop Black people.
Mm-hmm.
That's code. That's code, And he threw out a whole bunch of other code words, throughout like the debate. And so when you start talking about we need to leave those policies in place, why? Why would you want that? Why would you want that? When you have, outright police brutality and murder going on at such a rate, and it's being filmed and you're being able to see it, unlike before in other decades under other presidents. You're seeing it in real time now. You're watching people die. And he comes through, and it's just like the US the Department of Justice has dropped over 60% of cases dealing with race and dealing with disability. Why would you want this dude to remain in office? He's not supporting you. You have a general attorney that is pretty much working primarily for the president, not for the country. He's removing people from cases that are getting his friends locked up. And this is the policy that you want to continue to go by? You're lost, brother.
Now I want to go into this because this was the big statement of the day. This was the big statement of the week, and brother Danny goes in, just made it. I was just going to go there, stand back, stand by. How did you
Yes.
feel about that, Jay Rich, when he said that? That was like, I thought he was going to. Honestly, I just thought he was going to just, even if he was lying, I thought he was going to say, "Yeah, man, we don't need to be about that. So everybody's one." This brother was like, "I'm gonna tell him, stand by, stand back, stand by." We talked about that at our meeting today at the UNIA, and President Brother Caesar Kajana, has a military background, and he was saying him being in the military, that's a sign of war. Stand back, stand by. He's saying get ready for war. You stand by. So what did you feel about that? I go with you first, Jay Rich, and then we get new one.
I I would like to just bring to you, you know what I mean, because this goes right in line with what Trump says. So you have about a month ago, Kansas City, um, elected official Mike Brown of Kansas City
Mhm.
went and told his constituents to go buy guns and ammo because if the election doesn't go their way, then the anarchy is going to start. I think it was about maybe 2 weeks ago. You have the Assistant Secretary of the Human Health Services for the U.S. HHS, Caputo. I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing his name, who pretty much echoed these same sentiments.
Mhm.
And here's what he said, and this is a quote. And when Donald Trump refuses to stand down at inauguration, the shooting will begin. If you carry guns, buy ammunition. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be hard to get, but be ready. Be ready.
Wow.
There's I forgot there's a representative, I believe it was in New York, and other parts of the country, and there's a couple of representatives in Texas, and they are all echoing this same thing. Go buy your gun and get ready. Because if Trump doesn't get in, it's on.
Mhm.
It's on. I think it's a very reckless thing to say, but as me and New have been going back and forth for like months, I'm like, man, it looks like they're not going to get the race war that they wanted, so now they're just going to start a civil war.
Right.
He meant exactly what he said. Be ready, stand by, be ready, because we're gonna get it popping. Because he's already alluded. I can't even say he alluded. He already said on plenty of occasions, "I'm not leaving the White House if the election is decided by mail-in votes. I'm not leaving." And then he said, "No, I'll accept whatever comes out." But now he's right back on his thing, like, "I'm not leaving." And Joe Biden was just like that. I'm gonna just get the military to drag you out of there. Man, these cats are gearing up, man, for something big, but I don't think that they're ready to fight it. They want the poor to fight it. Don goes in and says he might not make it to the inauguration.
What Brother New? What did you think about that when he mentioned stand by, stand back? I'm not sure. Stand back, stand by. Um, how did that make you feel as a black person for one? And then what did you think in general about his comment?
Uh, I wouldn't say it necessarily made me feel any different because he's already said things to that nature before, either by outright when we talk about Charlottesville, or doing things by omission, like when the brother stopped the shooting in the Waffle House. You know what I'm saying? Uh, just stopped the mass shooting in the Waffle House. He had like nothing to say. So I don't only listen to things what he says. I pay attention to things that happen that he doesn't even mention. You know what I mean? So for me, it's just it's on brand. It's kind of like what some white people projected black people were going to do when Obama got into office. You know what I mean? We're just like, oh, black people are going to wild out. They're just going to start knocking playing knockout game with white people for 4 years, and it's like, nah, the Trump, the Trump dudes, what I'm saying, the hardcore Trump dudes and the Stephen Miller acolytes are have already been wanting something like this, so they're ready to go. Yeah, so it's I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised. not shocked is just what he's been doing. He knows who his base is, and he's not gonna disavow them. So
Right.
he's gonna do whatever he does to kind of weasel his way out of it without, but at the same time, when they're watching it, they can tell that he's standing strong for them. We might look at him and be like, yo, he's kind of saying this and that, but no, he's, clearly holding down his peoples, and you got to take note of that. So, and of course, there's plenty of other people, other elected officials throughout the country, like James said, that are going to be, ready to go as well. It's just, I just have to push back on that. Like, I don't know if they necessarily wanted a race war. There's a certain amount of destabilization in the country that's not going to be good for them. I mean, they don't give a fuck, but at the same time, I don't think that would be, something the elites would really want to happen. As far, I think they prefer more of a less overt kind of calling of the masses, so to speak. Like I said before, I think they rather just go, all right, they'd rather go with shit like cancer and obesity and food deserts and mental degradation and things like that. But that's just me. That's just my perspective. So, but no, I mean, and at the same time, I want to also say that although there's some things that Jay Rich said before that I took kind of lightly, that I'm like, okay, I gotta watch out for that, and I gotta start doing my my own gun research because it's getting wild, it's getting super wild. So and this is, and let's be clear about what else is going on. Like, this is with a pandemic going on, COVID-19 happening, and a looming a looming economic collapse. Potentially, just as bad or worse than the Great Depression. So there's a lot of stuff that's about to happen that and it's going to be, it's turning a powder keg into like a powder keg sitting in gasoline, on top of a lake of nitroglycerin. So there's no telling what might happen. But yeah, it's none of this is good. But also for me, none of this is really a surprise at all.
Now, let me get to this. Let's really turn it up now. Let me ask you guys this, because this is very important. We've been talking a lot about Trump, but no one's talking about Biden. And I got to give him this props. He signed some laws and promoted some laws pretty much to keep black people locked up for a while. He has apologized for that.
When?
I never heard that.
He apologized. Yeah.
For that?
I heard him. I'll find a video. I should have had it.
Okay.
He did it. He apologized for his way of thinking back then.
Okay.
I mean, we talk about. I didn't say he meant it. I didn't say he meant it. You know what I'm saying?
I just like to hear it. So
right. Yeah. I definitely. I heard him. I saw a video and I heard him say he apologized and some other stuff for that bill. But at the same time, I'm not going for it. When we talk about the lesser two evils, I'll start with you, brother Jay Rich. What's your opinion of Biden? What's your opinion of him?
I don't trust Biden just as much as I don't trust Trump. I think that Biden has his own agenda, and there's some things I want to say about him, but I didn't actually do the research, so I'll just keep it to myself. But let's just say that Biden has been a Democrat for a long time. Biden is probably, a Democrat before the so-called Southern switch, and he considers his state a Southern state. So that goes to say what that is. He's fought against segregation of schools. He talks a lot about women's rights. and their right to choose whether to keep a child or have an abortion and all this other stuff. But when you go back and you really start looking at his record, a lot of the healthcare bills that he either helped write or was signed off on, he specifically put language in there saying that none of that money can be used for an abortion. So yes, he's standing there and he's telling you that he's a champion for you and that you know what I mean, that you should be able to go and do this and go and do that. But he's also saying that, yeah, I don't think that any government fund should assist you in that. The other thing is that Biden has been funding a wall long before Trump, you know what I mean, ever ran for president. Biden has been funding police with military weapons long before like these riots and everything else broke out. And even during all of this, when asked, you know, he's still trying to set up, you know what I mean, to put more money into like the police force. For him to be in a public office for as long as he has, he sees the exact same reports that we read about, you know what I mean, in the Washington Post. He sees the exact same reports that we see in the New York Times, the same ones that when you get to college and you start studying sociology and, you know what I mean, economic depressions and everything else, he gets those same reports. He gets them before anybody else gets them. And the reports have been the same for decades. If you want to build a community, then you have to build the education system. But when he's standing up there, he's not talking about education. He's talking about more police force, more police presence. Oh yeah, well, you know, maybe we should move to, you know what I mean, this type of policing, or the policing needs this type of, you know. So you say that he apologized for it, and I'm not going to, you know, I mean, go back and forth on it. You said that you seen it, you heard it, and you know, I mean, I take your word at it. You
Yeah,
seem
I
to be a
did.
truthful guy. You know, I'll go with it. You know, I mean, except if we're talking about the Ravens, then, you know, man, you seem to exaggerate a lot. But I just think that this dude, he has nothing new to bring to the table. He has no change that he's bringing to the table. He's still talking about this affordable health care act that put people in dire straits because it's not affordable. He's still talking about, you know what I mean, continuing to fund the police when education, when opening up jobs and giving people an opportunity to make a living, you know what I mean, is the true answer. He's still coming with you with this 1960, you know, oh, no, we just need more police force. We just need to do this. We just need to do this. And I believe in healthcare. I believe in healthcare. Yeah, man, you're a millionaire. You're a millionaire. So the type of money that they're charging us, you know, for healthcare, and it's nothing to you. Is absolutely nothing to you. Anytime that you can hold a Zoom meeting and somebody is willing to pay $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 to hold a Zoom meeting with you, to the fact that other people are paying $400 a month for healthcare, that doesn't mean anything to you. What is 400? You can't even get on the meeting for 400. You know what I mean? You have to start putting these things in perspective, that the type of money that rolls through these people's accounts and through their hands, and the money that you have. You and I don't have the type of money to go and sit at the table and talk to Biden about what's going on in our community. The people that do have the type of money to sit at the table and talk to Biden aren't worrying about health care. They're not
Mhm.
worrying about the police kicking in their door. They're not worrying about no knock warrants. You know, they're not worrying about tanks rolling down their neighborhood. They're not worrying about any of this stuff. They're not worrying about getting shot because your brake light is out. They're not worrying about that type of stuff. They're not worrying about, you know what I mean, if this brother, you know what I mean, is able to open up another a business in that community. They're not worrying about any of that. They're not worrying about the abandoned house that's next to them. That, if you know what I mean, are these squatters going to come in and now all of a sudden I'm gonna have drug dealers hanging around my kids, or drug addicts hanging around my kids. I'm gonna have, you know what I mean, such and such hanging around my kids because we can't get permits, you know, to buy up the block. And you know what I mean, to reform like this community. The only time we can reform this community is once we move all the black people out of this community, and then all of a sudden the block becomes available. He's not addressing any of those things. And I don't think that he has any plans to address any of those things, because these are not the people that are paying thousands of dollars to sit at the table with.
Now, Sister Magenta Prey, she made a comment, submitting to the two-party system will not help. But realistically, you have to pick a third party that has enough state ballots to even have a chance at winning. On that statement, Jay, since you was flowing, we're gonna pass it to New One first. Then I got Reverend John Moran just joining in. New, what do you think about our sister's statement right there?
I think she's spot on. Also, I just got a phone call a little while ago, and after I didn't answer it, like the volume got low, so I can barely hear everybody right now here. So I don't know what's going on with that, but yeah, she's absolutely right with that. The two-party system, pretty much, in my estimation, the two parties work together to keep a third party from popping up. What you saw, some people, depending on where you are, on the left, so-called left scale, in the Democratic primaries, you see what happens with the super delegates. So the super delegates are basically there to kind of squash any grassroots candidates, candidates people actually want, and kind of ensure that the elites who really and the donors who run the party keep, certain candidates they want, such as Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, people like that. In fact, the funniest thing about Biden is that he said he wants to be the bridge to the Pete Buttigieg's, who's like probably the worst dude was on the stage. You know what I mean? That's neither here nor there. But yeah, so for me, Biden is like James said, he's segregationist, or at least segregationist adjacent. We'll say that. Up until 5 minutes ago, when Everett said that he apologized for it, I've never seen him be apologetic of the crime bill. And also, I'd like to say, my social media feeds, I got a lot of people that I love that are Democrats. I'm independent, but anyway, they've been kind of trying to twist themselves into ideological pretzels behind the crime bill, saying, "Oh no, that didn't lead to mass incarceration." It's like, absolutely did. It may not have been. Now at the same time, it's like, I'm not going to say that was the only thing that led to it, but it was a big push. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people's comments about it really had me do a little more research about the crime bill, because people were like, "Yo, black people voted for the crime bill. Black people wanted it, so they gave it to them. What are you complaining about?" And it's like, no, yeah, I mean, like, technically, yeah, some black people wanted it, but I found out, there were various different versions of it, and each version that came out after the first one was more draconian and more further away from, recidivism or, keeping crime from happening, addressing the core problems in society that breeds, quote unquote black crime. You know what I mean? So like James said, when Trump says law and order, it's a code, but when the Democrats say it, it's a code too. And Biden has been, and these are all things like you could look up videos, like he's brazenly proud about saying some of this stuff. Like he was just like, yeah, the Republicans are talking about their law and order, but the Democrats are the one that have pushed these laws, like the crime bill. One reason, because the optics of it look a little better coming from a dude who went on Arsenio and played the saxophone, as opposed to Ronald Reagan, who changed the gun laws so in California, so the Black Panthers couldn't come back and protest that, do a silent protest at the Capitol. So these are the types of things. Yeah, and this said like the 3 strikes bill, like the really draconian things, and it was even like Kwesi Mfume from the CBC, there's a lot of people like it took a while for him to sign on, and people were like, well, the Congressional Black Caucus signed on, so what's the problem? But they don't take into account we're talking about systematic issues, and you're talking about a caucus that's dealing with a system, and the system is going to push these individuals toward what they want them to do. So you can fight against it if you want, but then you could find yourself getting primaried. You could find yourself getting taken off committees and blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So they have ways to, to make sure that their power is, kind of absolute. And, I also found that the CBC also came up with a couple versions themselves of the crime bill. None of the things got adopted into it. And like I said, the further it got, further it got ratified or revised, it became more draconian and, stronger sentences, three strikes you're out rule. So these are things that that he's done, and like up till now he's been apologetic about it. Like I remember seeing earlier in the year Bobby Scott was crying, talking about the crime bill was the worst thing he ever did, and the next day they asked Biden and he was like, it's like a double down. So Biden and Trump in some ways are very similar because of their lying. And well, I'll say one more thing and let the new brother speak.
Okay.
But also, the thing that really got me the most about Biden this election cycle was in when he first ran for president. This was like 1980. This is also on film, on TV. He said that he was like in Delaware, in Wilmington, Delaware, desegregating movie theaters and going to the churches. He mentioned a reverend, and then he had to apologize. Was like, "Yo, we didn't do that. My bad. I wasn't there, but I was in spirit, with what they were thinking and feeling. Don't you know the same dude is on TV in video in a church talking about he was I was like, oh yeah, I was in the civil rights movement working desegregating desegregating movie theaters, and like turned to a brother's face, looked him dead in the face and lied to him. Like me, I'm not a religious person, so I'm not tripping off somebody, quote unquote lying in a church, but to a lot of people that should be a turnoff. Like, and at the same time, it's like, if you want to vote for Biden, fine. But my point is just be honest about who the dude is. That's all. You don't have to act like he's, some kind of moral center. He cares about America. He's going to be he's going to bring back the soul of America, whatever that means. He's not that dude. He's going to, he's going to do things, that's at least 65 to 70% the same shit that Trump's going to do. But, yeah,
right.
That's it.
Now,
America is racism.
Now, before we go on, because we got the Reverend John Moran on the line. I wanted to show everybody this too. If I could pull it up, I might not be able to pull it up. I thought I had it. Hold on one second. And I can't pull it up for some reason. But I'll let you elaborate on this, Brother John. I don't know if you guys can see it. This was an article, one of them from the Business Insider. Biden played a key role in pushing U.S. crime to take hardline stances on crimes in 1990s, and now he's apologizing as 2020 looms. So he did apologize, but the election's coming up. I would too. Let me bring in our next guest. He finally got to us. Reverend John, a regular on the show. Introduce yourself to the people, and then let us know what do you think about Biden apologizing for that hard crime law that he was pushing.
All right, good evening, everybody. Hopefully y'all can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Associate Minister at Community Baptist Church. I already stated my name, John Moran. I've been in the ministry now for over maybe 30 years. Um, so the question is, Biden.
Hmm.
You stated that should Biden apologize?
Well, he apologized. I heard him on a video. I don't really believe him, of course. I'm just saying he apologized. But I pulled up an article where they said it too. But he apologized. But I mean, I don't. From what he did, from not only him pushing the law, the words in which he was talking about criminals was pretty much, I felt he was talking about black people and stuff like that. Back then, he apologized to it. But do you take his apology, or how do you
Not
feel about Biden in general?
well. Number one, I think that when I look at Biden and I look at what he may have, I look at his moral character. I put it that way. When he was under President Barack Obama, and when I vote, I look at the moral character of the individual and also their policies. Um, and what I've noticed from Biden recently is that his he has better moral quality for president that we have now. Um, my philosophy is this in life: it's not how you start, it's how you finish. When individuals they do repent, they turn from and turn to a better avenue. And so if Biden did say those things, which I'm quite sure he did in '90, and signed off on a bill, then his actions in life have shown that he's turned from that and turned to a new direction. So that's how I see Biden.
Okay, brother Jay Rich, would you like to respond on Reverend Morant's comment on Biden? What do you feel about it?
I think that I agree. Everybody has an opportunity to turn their lives around and do like the right thing, but as long as he is still getting his funding from like the same people, he's going to continue to push the same agenda. That funding hasn't changed, so his agenda doesn't change. It's all about the money. Um, I don't think that he actually, when politicians say that we're going to include, you know what I mean, black economics into whatever plan, and we're going to include such and such into whatever plan, I never believe them. Because if you don't have a plan specifically for us, then you don't actually have a plan. And the way Miss Harris tried to explain it is that anything that we do, you know what I mean, black people are going to be able to benefit from it, but everybody's going to be able to benefit from it. And then she made the comment like, well, let's say if I said, you know what I mean, I'm going to pass such and such agenda for black people, it's like everybody else is going to be able to benefit from it as well, which we all know that isn't true. You know what I mean? That isn't true at all, because they have passed plenty of mandates. They have come up with lots of money to be put into like the neighborhoods that we never really see. That we are completely shut out. And we can start with, you know what I mean, casinos. With like all with the casinos opening up in Maryland, how many, you know what I mean, black investors were even able to come to the table, invited to the table to put in, you know? And we see the same thing with, you know what I mean, with the Native Americans, with like the different casinos and everything else. I mean, yeah, they have some, but when we start talking about on a larger scale, and it's just like, well, we didn't even get invited to the party. You know, when they're talking about these, how Joe said that he wants to redo, you know what I mean, America, and fix the highways and the bridges and everything else, all this stuff. How many black owned companies are going to get any of those contracts to work on the highway, to be out there on 95, to be fixing the bridges? How many do we
Right.
even see in
When we
Baltimore alone?
yeah
Baltimore County, Baltimore City, PG County, Howard County, Montgomery County. And he's going to change that? I doubt it, because, you know what I mean, he's not getting funding from us like that. He's not getting funding from the black community on that type of scale to worry about or to care about whatever our issues are. So I agree. Yes, he may have made a change. And yeah, maybe, you know what I mean? He looked back at it and was just like, maybe what I did, you know what I mean, wasn't good for America.
Right.
But I don't think that that's going. I think money changes a politician, not their heart or their conscience.
That
I could
makes
be
sense.
wrong.
And when we good.
Go. Hold up before you say something, Reverend Moran. Let me ask you this. A lot of people are saying right now after the debate, man, you know that they just don't
Right.
want to vote at all. What do you say? What do you say to them about that? To voting for the lesser of two evils. Do you believe in that, or do you? Or do you? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I still think individuals should get out there and vote. Um, to me, the debate is not indicative of what these candidates are going to do once they get into the White House. That debate didn't tell me anything as far as who to vote for. Because after enduring 4 years of this administration, I want to change myself. So my mind is already made up, you know, of who to vote for. So I think individuals still should get out there and vote. You know, still should get out there and exercise their right to vote because that's their voice. Everybody's voice deserves a chance to be heard. So, you know, Biden, to me, he didn't get any points up on Trump, and Trump didn't get any points up on him. So the polls are still the same. Biden is still leading. He hasn't lost anything, and Trump hasn't gained anything from that debate. So I really think individuals should go out there and go out there and vote and leave it at the polls.
I think we all agree right now that we gotta vote. The main reason I say always vote is because it is a right to vote, which we didn't have, and we have a lot of ancestors that got hit over the head
Yeah,
with clubs, got bit by dogs, sprayed with hoses, locked up in jail,
right.
died in jail just fighting for the right to vote, standing in line, just getting ridiculed to vote. So I do believe we should vote.
Yeah,
Brother New One, I want you to respond to this because Donnie goes in says never have white women have been number one beneficiaries of civil rights and affirmative action. On that note, there's a lot of people who say that Barack Obama was symbolism. And I believe that to a degree because what Barack Obama did was he went in there, showed class, he showed charisma. He showed that black people can do the job. It reminds me of the butler in that scene when the son was talking to Martin Luther King and he was ashamed to tell Martin Luther King his father was a butler. And his father said, young man, butlers, they showed a lot that black people could pretty much be sophisticated and they upped us. But at the same time, are we still going for symbolism or is it time now for us to say, man, we voting, we want reparations, we want a better community, things of that nature. So do you think that, like Donnie goes in says that the politicians are pretty much not doing anything for the black community? And what do you feel about the Barack Obama thing and stuff like that?
Well, for me, Barack Obama was more, symbolic. That's how I took him. I didn't really expect anything out of him, but the symbology of a black man being president. Essentially being the face of American empire. Saying which is fine for a certain segment of people, and that's great. When you're talking about aspirational politics, but when how he governed, was was less than sufficient for me. You know what I mean? And that's beyond even dealing with the black community. There's a lot of times when he talked down to black men specifically. But the some of the larger issues I have with him was, with how he dealt with DAPL, how he dealt with the teacher union strike in Wisconsin and things like that. But that's par for the course. I mean, that's when you're dealing with like a neoliberal centrist. That's pretty much what you're gonna get. So I'm not tripping off of that. But yeah. But as far as voting, I would say, I'm not for the lesser evils, but like I said before, I'm not gonna begrudge anybody who's for harm reduction. I'm not gonna begrudge anybody who's gonna say who's gonna look at Trump and Biden and be like, well, I was on the fence until we saw how Trump handled COVID, and that's completely unacceptable. Especially when you come to the fact that he knew the severity of the situation, and pretty much allowed 200,000 people to die. Now at the same time, there's still that same amount of people that die. Nearly that same amount of people that die every year from not having health care. But that's a whole nother, issue. And Biden's not down with that either. So, with handling that in a really significant way that will help the average person. But vote down ballot,
Yeah.
vote for who you think will be the better custodian for the empire, because it's going to be rough. And regardless of who's going to be in there, once the economy, fingers crossed that it doesn't happen, but once the economy starts to take the hit, the eventual hit that it's going to take, it's not going to be pretty, because as everybody knows, when we start talking about where the economic cuts are going to happen, is going to happen for the quote unquote least of us. So it'll be more social services cut. So yeah, so I say down ballot. I'm not going to begrudge anybody who says Biden's better than Trump. If you're a Trump supporter, all right, man, okay, but vote down ballot. Learn about candidates who are really fighting for you. That may be, and that's from like city council down to school board, things like that. And
Yeah.
then what I would say that's most important besides voting right now is which I'm trying to find out as well. Get down with some mutual aid, and some other organizations that are people that are doing co-ops, because it's going to take us to save ourselves. It's not going to be a politician to do that. So whether you want to link up with all black people, you want to link up with all progressive people, you want to link up with all artists, all musicians, all conservatives, however you want to link up with cats and find a way for us to look out for each other. That's going to be important. But yeah, I would say my main concern is like down ballot, Senate. I'm not excited at all for the presidency, but I'm also in a solid blue state in California, so I can't tell somebody in Pennsylvania
Right.
not to consider the weight of their vote. So people are in swing states. You might have to think about it. You might have to
Right.
think about it. And I'm sorry you got to do that, but that's just the facts. Until we can find a way to get, to add a couple more parties in here, and that's going to be fighting against the Republicans and the Democrats to do so. But until we can, that's the reality of the situation.
Facts, facts. Donnie goes in. I'm looking at your comment, and I do agree with you. Policies and stuff. A lot of LBGT
Right.
and a lot of people benefited, but we didn't. We didn't really get anything to show. But like he did a good job as far as showing that we could do the job. I want you guys to comment on Brother Abu Bakr again. He said Biden, apology or not, is will he going to fulfill any promises on the black community? Will he?
No, he will not.
Now, this brother is a black man, and he's also saying vote for Trump. So I'm gonna start
Right.
with you, brother Jay Rich. Why should he be against Trump as a black man, or does that matter? Because a lot of people that are saying pretty much you shouldn't vote for Trump if you're black because he's pretty much supports white racism and he's an a-hole. Um, but here's a brother saying you should vote for Trump. What do you say to this brother? Does he have what do you say to him? Just to leave it right there.
Well, one of the things is that, and I'd like to start by saying that just because this is their policy doesn't necessarily mean that this is what they're going to do. This is just what they're floating out there.
Yeah.
Biden is
Right.
already talking about some buyback program where he is looking to inject $31 billion into the black community. He says that he supports unions, but as my man Noob One already pointed out, he was a part of administration that busted up the unions. So for him to turn around and say he's going to turn around and dump $2 trillion into, helping union workers, I don't see that happening.
Let me say one thing. I'm sorry. Let me stop you right there real quick. I don't want to cut you off because you're on a roll.
Yeah.
But he also, like his first campaign, he did a campaign once he announced he was running for president in Pennsylvania. The person who organized his first campaign drive was like a big union busting lawyer. So that's how he started it out. It's crazy.
Who you
Go
talking
ahead,
about?
man.
Hold up. You talking about Biden? Because I didn't know that Biden was a union.
Biden, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay, go ahead, Jay Rich.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So again, he's talking about dumping $2 trillion into, helping union workers when we already know that he's not, for like the union. He's talking about going in and trying to set up all these different programs. But how many times have we heard this before? How many times? And I'm looking at his policy as y'all were talking. I'm googling like what is his policy? I can tell you what I don't see. What I don't see is him, referring to the white supremacists that the FBI for 20, 30, 40 years now have keep reporting to the government that the biggest problem is white supremacy infiltrating law enforcement. But what I do see him is supporting law enforcement. When it comes down, that's Biden. So when we saying, why should I vote for Trump? I can't even think of a reason why to vote for Trump because Trump is only throwing out stuff now in this last 2 months that would actually benefit you. He's talking about putting $500 billion into like the black community. But where? Where are you planning on putting this at? What is the plan for? You know what I mean? How do people go about doing this? Is it going to be grants? Are we talking about loans? What are we talking about? You're saying that you're going to open up certain districts. So you already know that that there are black businesses that cannot get into certain districts and in certain cities. You already know about this. So you know that there's some type of racism and division in that city, but you're not going to conquer it unless we vote for it. You know what I mean? So you're not good for America, period. You already know that people are struggling with health care. You keep saying that you have Trump keeps saying that, I got a health care plan. I got a health care plan. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare. That is my health care plan. But after you were found, you knew about Corona. You know what I mean? COVID-19 back in November. And right before you started, right before you finally told the American people about it, you cut Medicaid. So the poorest people no longer had access to health care. So, we're talking about somebody that's standing there talking about, oh yeah, we got to help people. We got to help people. He's telling you not to wear a mask. His health department is telling you to go and get a mask, do this. He hires his son-in-law to be the COVID-19 team leader. You know what I mean? To go out and get all the resources that we're going to need to fight this. You know where those resources are right now? Do any one of y'all know where those resources are? They are packed in in storage rooms. They have built they are sitting in buildings and warehouses. I'm talking about thousands and thousands, millions of masks, millions of PPV, millions of everything that they said we needed to combat COVID-19. The government went and bought it all up and then stuck it in a warehouse and told the states, oh, you have to go and buy your own. This is the reason why you don't vote for Trump, because Trump is all about Trump. Not once during that whole debate did he name anybody in his administration that may have done a good job, somebody that may have been a nice leader, somebody that may have helped him get something done. It was all about him, and it's still about him. And what makes his son-in-law, you know what I mean, qualified to handle a pandemic? Was he ever in one? Where was this at? You know what I mean? That qualifies this guy to be in charge, which also goes to Betsy DeVos. What qualifies her to be at the head of public schools when one of her main businesses is student loan? What qualifies her to be there? What qualifies DeJoy to be running the post office when he has spent hundreds of millions of dollars to destroy the post office? How in the world is Ben Carson, who he has degraded on so many levels at so many times, now popping his head up out of his hole saying, oh, Trump is good for Black America? You're not even good for Black America. What makes this guy? He's a surgeon. When was the last time Ben Carson lived in the ghetto? But he's the head of HUD. When was the last time he lived in government housing, but he's the head of HUD? This dude, the people that he put in place that actually make rules, that actually make laws, that actually, you know what I mean, set standards for the way you can live your life are not good for you. So why would you continue to put this guy in place who is selling? He is absolutely selling these appointments. And he's not shy about it. And these people aren't shy about telling you, yeah, no, I am Trump's biggest supporter. That's the reason why I got this position. Betsy DeVos came out on more than one occasion and said, no, I paid entirely too much money not to get an appointment. He's hosting $500,000 dinners right now to sit down and talk with him. $500,000. And brother Abaka, man, if you got $500,000 to go and talk to him, please go and talk to him about us. Go and talk to him about what we're struggling with. Go and talk to him about, you know what I mean, people that are working at these big corporations, people that are working for Amazon, people that are working for Walmart, that are living check to check, that make just enough not to get public assistance and not enough to continue to pay their rent and buy food. Go and talk to them about what's going on, not only in the Black community, but in every poor community across America. 80% of America is bad for Trump because Trump is bad for 80% of Americans that live check to check, that do not have $500,000 to be able to sit at a dinner table and tell them what it is that they need him to do. That's why you don't vote for Trump. He doesn't care about you.
Facts. And I want to the brother commented, brother Jay Rich and fellas, and this is why we do stuff like this, because brother Boubacar said, thanks so much for your time to give us wonderful highlight connection discussion on Black people vote, much love. And that's what we want to do. We just want to have discussions in our community to get us on point, to get us on code. And that's the most important thing. If we don't talk about it, you know, we don't come together, it's going to be something crazy. I want to someone from my organization just put something up there. I don't know if that's Brother Caesar or not, but I wanted the Reverend to respond to this. We must show strength but smartness. Question: what's more important, unity or voting? Just a question. That's
Unity and voting.
yeah. I mean, yeah, we both is important, but probably if that is Brother Caesar, but probably knowing what he thinks, he's pretty much saying, you know, voting won't get us anywhere because we're not unified to push an agenda. So, Brother John, respond to that. You know, get into that a little bit. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, when I saw that comment coming up, I said, "Wow, that's a powerful statement." I believe that we need both. Yeah, I don't think you can separate uh, neither. You know, in order for us to have one voice and to be unified, you know, we show that by going out there voting. And that is the Achilles heel in the black community. You know, there is no unity among us. There is no unity among us. When we look at our communities, especially in the inner city, you know, there's no unity in our inner city. The programs, we can't come together to come up with programs. We can't come together to meet with our city councilors. You know, it's just that we need unity among ourselves. And when you think of unity in some of our inner cities, the voting turnout is very low. And the evidence that we had was our last election, 2016. It was very low, you know. And the only time that we did come out is when we showed President Barack Obama's vote. We came out in record numbers because, of course, it was a black man. And prior to the elections, we came out and showed unity in voting and voicing our opinion. And even in this election, I think that we'll show unity is coming out because of Joe Biden picked a black candidate, Kamala Harris. Now, had he not picked Kamala, would we come out and vote? Will we come out and vote? So I really think that we need both. We need both. We need unity in our communities, and we need to get out and vote. Unity, when we look at, we need to get an agenda together. Um, I heard a lot about pushing our agenda. What is our agenda?
Right.
What we gonna talk about? What we gonna talk about? What we want? Reparations for slavery? Is that what we want? In which, to me, I have mixed feelings about that. I doubt if that ever happened, but I don't think that should be on our agenda. Reparations should be on our agenda. I think what should be on our agenda is education. We talk about the federal funding. Yes, Biden can say, "Hey, listen, this is for Maryland. They can get funds for our community, but unless the state and local leaders take that money and use it in our communities, we'll never see it. And so that money trickles down, and I think we have to understand that money trickles down. So, as one of the brothers said, that we need to put somebody in the local offices that's going to look out for us. We need to start at the local, like vote down ballot. But when you start local, and that can build up, we have Social Security area, Woodlawn, near Security Mall. It's an open lot there. Hey, we need to call the delegate and say, "Hey, man, what you gonna do with this lot?" The delegate of that area, and then the delegate takes it to the senator of the area, and then it keeps going up and higher up the chain. So that's how we need to get things done. Unity, and we need to get out and vote. We need both in our community.
Facts, facts. Brother Jay Rich, before I go to you, Noob, um, you got a comment. And I want you to react to this comment now, Brother Jay Rich. Tell us why we should vote for Biden. LOL.
I'm not going to tell you why you should vote for Biden because I'm not voting for Biden. So yeah, that's a done deal. I agree with your other comment about, you know what I mean, that the Republicans and Democrats have done worse than Trump has done. I agree with you 100%, but I don't plan on voting for Biden because I don't plan on supporting this one-party system. I agree with with the Reverend that man that we need and this is and let me start off by saying, man, for brother Everett, he hasn't said it, but he is a founding member of the UNIA Baltimore chapter. It has to be said. And that we have to get Like you said, you want to get unity, then we have to get membership. We have to get active members in these type of groups, in these type of this is the government. It's not a group. We have to get our people involved in these types of governments that will stand there, and then we can come together, like you said, and make an agenda. I agree with you 100%. If you don't mind, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful or put you on the spot, but for me, in studying history, I've seen again and again and again that most of like these movements and everything went through the church. And I asked my mother and I asked my uncle this because, you know what I mean, you know what I mean, during the 60s, these are times that they went out and march. These are the times that they went out and protest. And I asked them, like, whatever happened with the church being the center point of where people got their information about how we can better ourselves, not only spiritually, but in our own communities. Most of the time during all of these times, and let's keep it real. The civil rights marches and the civil rights that whole era, it took 10 years, what, 9, 10 years before
Mhm.
any president picked up a pen and signed any law. So if we're
Right.
looking for something that's all, you know what I mean, that Joe Biden is going to come in and all of a sudden he's going to turn everything around because we've been rioting or marching and protesting all summer, they're not. Because they've already started putting in place bills, you know what I mean, to give the
Right.
police even more protection than they already have. They already have in place bills, you know what I mean, to lock up people for protesting. They already have these things in place, and they're just waiting for their candidate to get in so that he can sign it into law. But my question to you, you know what I mean, is what happened there? I see Biden going down south and he's, you know what I mean, he's giving speeches at churches and all of this
Mhm.
stuff, and Trump taking pictures in front of churches. But what happened with the church, man, being that focal point of information, man, for not only, you know what I mean, like you know what I mean, our spiritual well-being, but also, man, for our well-being right now, man, in our own communities, man, and holding each other responsible and devising a plan for us to come together.
Now, before
Right.
you answer that, Reverend, because that's a deep question he asked you, I
Mhm.
will say this, and Brother J. Rich, I appreciate you. You mentioned the UNIA, which goes back to Marcus Garvey. People don't realize Malcolm X's father and mother, and a lot of our ancestors were in the
All of that.
UNIA. Right. Malcolm
Yeah.
X's father was a pastor. He was a preacher, and so we use the church as a community to go fellowship, to go talk. There was a source of putting the agenda together, and a lot of people are starting to lose faith in the church for various reasons. And I don't think it's the religion part of it because,
Yeah,
to
no,
be
I'm not
honest,
even talking about the music part.
right. Because to be honest with you, a lot of people go to church for the fellowship and maybe not the religious part, just to hear positive things and to be around positive people. But the losing the faith of the church, Reverend, go into that a little bit because that's very important. Black people are losing faith in the church. We're not voting. We all over the place. What do you say to that as being a Reverend?
Here it is. The church, as Jay Rich said, was the focal point during the civil rights era. What changed that is status, education, I believe. The more some of us get educated, sometimes we forget where we came from. And so
Okay.
therefore, we keep church and state separate. We keep church and state separate, along with we keep the politics out of church. But on the other hand, you still do have a remnant that still marches and still protests against unjust and and, uh, injustice in our neighborhoods. So you still have just a small remnant of churches. And I say small remnant because when Martin Luther King came, it seems like he had a lot of support, a lot of churches coming supporting him, a lot of churches and a lot of denominations. But now things are a little different, as I stated, because of status and education. Some churches feel as though we don't need to get involved. Let's vote the politicians so they can handle that. And I believe that the church still should be a voice today. A church still should be a voice today in politics. For social reform, for police reform. Uh, the church has always been that beacon light of hope that gave us a sense of being that things are going to get better. That's what the church has always been in the black community. At least
Right.
I think, and even now still is. But like I said, it's just a small remnant of uh, activists that get out there. And of course, I say a small remnant because you know Reverend Al Sharpton, he's still there, and Jesse is still there, even though they may not be our favorites, but they're still there. And somebody said TD Jakes, and just I don't know where TD Jakes said. I'm not gonna get into that, but that's why I just laugh. But I think that the reason why the black community has lost their faith in the church is because of the lifestyle that the pastors or preachers are living. Um, we're not living according to the word of God. You know, our lifestyle's not matching up. So I think that's why a lot of folk have lost their faith in the church. It's in the church. They look at it and they see one pastor driving a Tesla or a very
Right.
expensive car, have a private jet, living in a mansion, and then they categorize all ministers, all preachers, all that way. But then they don't see the little pastor who works, pastors, and take care of his family. They don't see him. They don't see the pastor that's been ministering for 40 years and has now reaping what he has sown. You know, but when he started out, he went to school, he worked, pastored part time, gave up his time for the church, and missed out on time with his family. So, you know, the community only sees what the media portrays or what the media shows, but they don't take a look at that pastor in their community and see what he's done or see where he's came from. So I think that's why our community has lost faith, because we already have a an idea of what the pastor is about. He's all about the money. Look what he's driving. Look how he's dressing. That's only a small portion of ministers, and you have a whole lot of preachers out here that don't have that, but have to get up and work every day to support their family and then go minister. So
Right.
we've lost faith in them for two reasons. One, because we're not living according to God's scriptures, and number two, of how the media has portrayed us.
Now let me go to Brother Nude. This is
Can I
going to
say
be.
something real fast before
Go
we go
ahead.
to new?
Go ahead, Jay
I
Rich.
agree with you 100%. And I personally, I would personally love to see the church get back involved, because when
Yeah.
we start talking about Sunday mornings and we start talking about who has the ear of the people,
Yeah.
at least one day of the week, who has the ear of the people of a great
Right.
number of our people, it's the pastor. Whether
Yeah.
whether he's off on something, some selfish
You're
agenda,
right.
or if he's all about, doing the work of our creator, then he has that voice, and all it takes is just
Right.
a moment to slide something in. I grew up, man, where at a Baptist church where we had politicians come in.
Yeah.
And Sunday morning they gave them 10, 15 minutes, man, to go ahead and put their agenda out there. that was normal for me. And then all of a sudden I get older, like you said, it just goes away. And my mother was saying that a lot of churches are afraid to lose like that tax exemption. You know, that if they start bringing all like these different politicians in, then somebody's gonna go after like their exemption and so on and so forth. But that right there is probably the most powerful, um, um, for lack of organization within the Black community that we have failed to take an advantage of, or we no longer taking advantage of, that will help us in this time of need to be able to put an agenda together to take to, you know what I mean, these politicians and be like, hey man, I got 10,000 members, I got 5 members, I got whatever, you know what I mean? But all of these churches are combined, you know what I mean? Even though we may all want different things, we all come together under the same leadership that, hey, something has to be done.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm done.
No, you good. You good. And what I can do for the last 2 minutes, Donnie goes in. I'll put that link up if I can get it going so people can call in. I'm working on something new, so I can't promise, but give me a few minutes, and I'll see if I can put that call-in link for if anybody wants to call in and let let the panel talk. Then you know we can build on that as well. So give me a minute and let me see what I can do. But Noob, I want to talk to you because that was real deep. And again, like you said, even if you was a daggone Muslim, you still probably, a black Muslim, you still probably followed the church to see what was going on because that was our building block from slavery going up, where we got our nurturing from. What do you think about that as far as people straying away from the church? That was a lot of where we put our agendas in place. Do you think it's a lot of the popular leaders that have led us astray? Maybe we need to start looking at, just the honorable guys that's putting in work like Reverend John. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Reverend and James already pretty much succinctly explained that. But there are like thinking of one in particular, Dr. Reverend Barber, who is spearheading the Poor People's Campaign.
Yeah.
And is trying to start a third party. Is somebody to watch out for. There's but as far as I'm concerned, it's wherever we can get groups of people together to congregate, form some kind of community, develop some ideas, develop some policies, and move forward.
Right.
The better, because it's not necessarily going to be everybody doing the same thing. You can have UNIA people there. You can have people in the church go to the church. The people in the mosque, if they want to organize, be in the mosques, and that's Sunni or Nation of Islam. Black socialists get together. But I think the most important thing is to get together with a group of people and start to not only organize but educate ourselves more about not only
Thank you
politics
for calling
and the
Call-In
political
Studios
process,
host
but
and
also
call screener line. Please enter your show
for
number and
the
press pound.
no, okay, I was bugging out because I'm like, yo, is that
Enter
my
your
phone doing that?
6-digit
Oh, y'all
PIN
hear that? Hold on. My bad.
Right.
My fault. Let me
But
log
yeah, I
into
think
the.
anything that's going to help promote unity.
Welcome, host. You are now in
Like
the host
everybody
room and
said,
can manage your callers
the
from the
church has been a
Call-In Studio
cornerstone of the
web
Black
interface.
community for 100 years, and for me, it's always going to be a small group of people. A small percentage of churches is going to be a small percentage of organizations that are going to get together and find some way to bring our policies together, iron them out, unite, and then figure out what we can do as a block and what we can do separately as groups to move us forward. Because I'm more into the idea of like mutual aid societies and co-ops, and part of that, I'm sure the Reverend would know about that as well, because that's also something that's been, rooted in the church as well. So, anything that's going to promote community
Right.
unity, education, and some sort of progress in the community, I'm all for, regardless of where it comes from. And
Can
that's
I?
even means sitting down with Black conservatives and talking about,
Right.
what their perspective is and what they want to do, and how, and find places where our views will coincide. Because like James was talking about Trump, a lot of his policies have been pretty much the current Republican policies, as far as deconstructing the state, making, been against big government. So now they're gaining power, so they're starting to move into enacting that power, and you can see how destructive that is. Like, it sounds good, in theory, like, oh yeah, we need smaller government, and in certain cases, yeah, but at the same time, I have an older dad. My dad's like 94, and
Mm.
the benefit I have with talking with him is that he was telling me about, before uh, the New Deal, FDR, and all these, all these social policies that started to help the average American. It was like he was telling us about poorhouses, like before Social Security and all that stuff. There were just poorhouses, and if you didn't have any money, you just end up in the county poorhouse, and
Okay. Yeah.
that's where you die. That's where supposedly, and I can't completely verify this, but I heard Zora Neale, the writer Zora Neale Hurston, died in a county poorhouse. So
Mm.
these are the types of things you have to take into account when you're talking about, small government, because the people who really spearheaded the move for small government are the people who are most affected by government regulation, and that's, elites, people, particularly at one point, people in like fossil fuels and corporations, and a lot of these policies are getting rolled back, even so far as, polluting the water, polluting the ground. And this goes back to what I'm talking about within the Black community, where you find, inordinate amounts of ecological damage done to us. That's that doesn't have to be so.
Right. Well, brother J. Rich, before you say something, can you hold that thought? I wanted to take a call, or somebody called in.
Oh.
Okay.
All right. So let's hopefully this works, caller. And caller 9403, you are on the line. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Caller
Can you hear me?
9403. Yeah, I got you. Y'all hear?
Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
hear
hear
you.
you, brother. We hear you.
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, I can hear y'all now. I can hear you from the TV, but it's silent on the phone.
Okay, okay.
So, but I just wanted to touch on that point. Okay, I can hear you now.
You got us. Yeah, I think my mic
I
was
just wanted,
muted.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. How y'all fellas doing? Peace and blessings.
That's fine.
Peace and
Thank
blessings.
you.
Good,
What's your
peace,
name? Where
peace.
you calling from? What's your name? Where you calling from?
Oh, this Donnie goes in. I'm
Okay.
calling from Virginia,
All right.
and I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. I really enjoyed. I think the pastor had the best answer tonight to Jay Rich's question, and which is I think is the problem. I think it starts on a community level, where change start and unity start. And when I grew up, it was the church. My great grandmother, great grandfather built the church, by themselves, by hand. My great grandmother, she had these kids, but they was able to have clothing drives, food drives. You adopted so many kids in the community, helped to start the local fire department. It's countless things that they did with no money, not taking a salary, not driving a Bentley, not not doing what we see now with some of these pastors on TV, which is the problem why it's such a loss of respect and for the church in our community. I've been watching a lot of these forums and listening to people talk, and it's a movement where people hate God, they hate church, they hate religion, and I think it's sad because I didn't grow up with that church hurt that these people had. I mean, I've seen great things done with people not taking money and saw the respect that these small churches and communities had in the community that's missing now. So I don't know how we get back to that with with all this materialism that we seeing that the pastor said that goes against God. I don't know how we get back to that level or where the church get that respect back. There used to be a day even a bum would walk past the church corner will put his bottle away out of respect for the pastor in that church, even if he never stepped foot in it. And it just I think it's an overall symptom of the lack of respect for faith, which is part of the cancer that's what's going wrong with us in this world. So I just want to touch on that. It ain't all churches and it's not all pastors, but I hate hearing people talk. I don't care what your religion is, but I hate to hear people do that and talk bad about religion, because it did a lot for me growing up and seeing those great role models in my life.
Well, let me ask you this, brother. What do you think happened? Like the Reverend responded a little bit. What do you think happened to the church, which was a major and powerful movement? And for those that don't know, we've been doing a lot of powerful shows. Just to hold that thought, we did a show on the Washington team, and we hit that right on the point. Now they don't even have that name. But we also did a show on a lot of other topics, and I believe we did a show on this. About religion and things of that nature. I need to follow up with Reverend Moran because a lot of people have been talking about what happened. Where do you think the leadership went? Why are people not trusting the church? I heard Jamal Bryant say that. He said people don't trust the church, but
they
that's
took
Jamal
that
Bryant.
back and they stopped living righteously. They stopped living righteously in front of the world. And now we're in 2020 and the world got 2020 vision. So all the stuff that they doing and doing behind the closed doors being revealed. You can't go ahead and, I had a situation going on with a pastor and, you can't be the pastor and go to jail or do something worse than I'd have ever did growing up, and then come out and think, I'm going to come in there and sit in your audience and watch you as soon as you get out of jail. How do you, I don't know, they just stopped living right in front of the world, and it shows, and everybody's watching, and this generation right here, they see. It's not a generation right here where, this ain't a, believe it and receive it generation. This is show me so I can see the evidence generation. And, the knowledge, the internet, everything is here now that we didn't have before. I mean, my grandfather told me that back in the day, just believing and receiving, and, and growing up, I didn't understand it when I was young. I mean, it took me a while to get it when I was older, to go through a few things to realize what he said and how he chose to live worked. But I had to go through some things to see it. But I mean, you can't be with another pastor, but he just got caught cheating on his wife for the I don't know how many times, or or they got these private planes and jets, which is, I don't care if the church have it, but if the pastor got a Bentley, I mean, at the minimum, the congregation have a Honda Civic or something, or at least the church making having programs in place to help them. My grandparents ain't had no money, but they had a clothes like a thrift store clothes thing where anybody can come in there any day of the week, and they needed something. It was right in there for them.
Right.
So, and it didn't cost you nothing. Or food pantry, and they didn't have no money. So I don't know how you need a Bentley to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. I believe. Huh?
now, I was just saying, I wanted to thank you for calling, brother. I got a couple more calls, but stay tuned.
Oh
And
yeah.
I appreciate your participation in the
All right. Well,
show.
peace
Much,
and
much
blessings. I'm
love.
gonna let y'all go.
I appreciate you. Much love. First of all, before I get to the next caller, I got two calls. I got one call and then 4653. You're next. I want to shout out my sister Selena Ricks, who is on. She just made a comment. I think it might have been to you, Reverend. I'm not sure. Amen. Please support her book, Miss Selena Ricks, The Roadmap to Better Credit. Like you say, we're building and networking here, and this sister is tuning in. I love her, so appreciate you for tuning in. Let me take the another call real quick. Hold on one second, and I'm going. Looks like it's a WhatsApp number. First digits 234. 234. You are on the line. Call, are you there?
Hello, yeah, I'm there.
Peace and blessings. What's your
Hello,
name? What's your name
my
and what?
name is Abdul Salam Abubakar.
Okay, hold on. Are you the
Can you hear me?
We got you, brother. Are you the Trump supporter?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let him beat you up too bad, brother. We got a brother that's a Trump supporter. He decided to call in and show us some love. He was making comments. So for you to do that, I want to show you
Yeah.
love, and we want to respect everyone's opinion here. But go ahead, get it in. Tell us why you feel we should vote for Trump, brother.
Okay. The reason is that most of the politicians, all of these, even the Trump and Biden, all of them, they have promises, a lot of things, and the Trump is in the system now. Maybe he will realize most of the mistakes, and maybe he will understand that maybe the next government has to deal with the black people if he can have the support of the black people, so that maybe the policy that he refused to do for the past 4 years, maybe he will decide to do it now. That's why I think maybe I have to give him a chance to move on. Even though that I know he's not doing anything, he have done nothing for the black, and maybe he would decide to do that. But when we go for the new one, maybe it will be difficult for them to see the realization of the black people because they came in the new. So maybe they have other plans to go for it. That's what the reason I wanted Trump to continue, because even if we bought out Trump out, I don't know whether the policy could even for the policies, when the two parties is the one are leading, we can't even have a new party. Maybe that will be planned in the next 2024, so that before then, if there is any community gathering through the black, maybe we will have the other things. That's why I wanted.
Now let me ask you, not to cut you off, my brother. Let me ask you this, because I hear your accent and your name. Where are you from?
I'm calling from Nigeria right now.
Nigeria. So we got a brother from Africa. Wonderful, man. I want to ask Brother Jay Rich first to go in. Brother Jay Rich, and talk to the caller. Do you think he has a different mentality or thoughts of Trump because he's not a descendant of slavery? He's from he hasn't been through a struggle. Do you think that is maybe his could that be it? And caller, you can
Well,
respond after Brother Jay Rich.
Well, I mean, we all have opinions on, what I mean, our opinions vary from things that we haven't actually experienced. So, I mean, I respect him for coming in and saying, what I mean, hey, we give him a chance to see if he's going to do whatever it is he said he's going to do, like in the next 4 years. I'm sorry. Let me take a step back. Assalamu alaikum, brother. My salam to you, and I apologize for not addressing you. With that said, you have to, you know what I mean, when we start talking about a ruler of the nation, you know, our Nabi, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said, you know what I mean, you have to take the character of this leader into consideration. The character of this man is arrogance. And as we both know, you know what I mean, through like the teachings of the Quran, that you know what I mean, arrogance is the worst sin. It's the worst sin because you're not repentant. You know what I mean? You're
Yeah.
not going to because you believe that you're right all the time.
I
Has shown
one and out.
absolutely at no point is he has ever taken responsibility for anything that he has done unless it turns out correct. Even if it doesn't turn out correctly, he still turns around and tells you that, oh, this is the most excellent. You know, the he came in, you know what I mean? I forgot what the job what the unemployment rate was when he came in. This joker has increased the unemployment unimaginably, and yet he still stands on TV and tells you, "Oh, this is the greatest economy ever." It's a great is it, and if you are a billionaire and that you are or you have stocks in some of like these Fortune 500 companies that pretty much doubled in wealth, then yeah, the economy is doing well for you. But if you work for a small business and
Right.
you are out of work and that business has gone out of business, then this economy ain't all that great for you. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because there is no job for you to come back to. There is, you know what I mean? There is no training for you to go back to. He's talking about he's going to forgive student loans if he's reelected. But let me put you on to something. Just a few months ago, he vetoed a bill for student loans to forgive student loans. So we're in a situation where we are buried in debt, and
Hmm.
that's the new slavery. We are buried in debt, and every opportunity that he has been given to get people out of debt, he's
Right.
chosen the opposite. You
Right.
know, so no. I understand, you know what I mean? You know, from the outside looking in, it may look good. I mean, he's a very charismatic guy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? He has the gift of gab, you know, and he appeals to certain people because of his arrogance, you know. But nah, man, he's not that guy, man. Don't let that guy fool you, man, because you know you can heal a wounded snake, but that doesn't mean that snake is always going to be a snake. You know what I mean? It doesn't make a difference how many times you feed it mice, how many times you feed it whatever. You know what I mean? That snake is still a snake, and when it gets hungry, it's gonna bite you. So you know, yeah, no, he needs to go. Biden needs to go. We need a third party, and we need unity within our voting to bring about that third party. We're talking about 10% of the vote. So if you're one of these people that's talking about I don't believe in voting and how my man Steve Hansberry keeps putting up on there like the whole system is a joke, then hey, do me a favor, man. Go vote Green Party. You know, let's get 10% of the vote to another party. You know, so that these people are challenged in something. They're not challenged
Yeah.
right now because they work together to keep you boxed out.
All right, I'm gonna take another call, but before I take the caller, brother Jay Rich, you mentioned something that's very important as well: student loans. And that's why we really preaching and we trying to do things, especially in our division of the UNIA and Collective Black People Movement, all the organizations we're a part of,
Right.
to start teaching it because sometimes college isn't for everybody. And you go to college, I joke around with Ernest, who's a college professor. His brother Brian graduated before him, and he works at the post office, got a degree in health. I'm like, I could have got a degree in health. But he was working at the post office before he graduated. He's still at the post office. The degree might have helped him get a higher position. I don't know, but you know, that student loan is a big game. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Education is a big game, and so we may have to start looking at is education for everybody, and maybe using our hands and skills, getting economics back into the schools and stuff like that, getting trades and stuff like that, being more proactive, and you know, and not just saying college. I'm not saying don't go to college. I'm just saying not just say that. But let me take the next caller. 4653. You are live. 4653. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Peace and blessings. Welcome to the show. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Peace and blessings. This is Magenta Prairie calling from Carroll County, Maryland.
What's up, Magenta? What's up with you?
I just was y'all were talking about the religion piece a little bit earlier and the loss of faith in it. And I think like where a lot of people more in my generation have found is that you realize, a lot of us have realized there's these people that have been put in positions of power and they exploit and manipulate people, and that really discredited a lot of the religious faith people have had in that institution, and just kind of unveiling the level of control some of these individuals have, and patriarchy, justifying racism, all that stuff. And it doesn't, at the end of the day, have anything to do with God and faith and unity. It completely takes away from that. But the core of what you've been talking about with the church and building unity and community, to me, that's completely separate from when people say they've lost faith in the religion and everything. They're talking about like the institution of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But they're not talking about when you build a community and unity, that's a completely different thing. And to me, that's really just going back to the basics of faith and religion before it gets hit with corruption and greed.
Well, but before you go, caller, let me let the Reverend. That's why we got him on. Rev, you want to respond to that? Because I'm sure you, as a Reverend, you want to bring people into the church. And talk about what she said, and also talk about the church being more than just a religious a focal point, and what it used to mean to the community, and how we can get it back.
Well, that's religion, as I stated a couple of months ago. I look at religion and faith as two different dynamics. Religious is something that anyone can practice, but a person of faith is totally committed to Jesus Christ. And so I know when we talk about religion, we use it in a broader sense to talk about the church in its whole. But because there is so much of corruption in the church, it's because of that individual or that pastor's lack of commitment to Jesus Christ. It's his lack of commitment to Jesus Christ. That's why it's so much of corruption into the church today. And when there is so much of corruption in the church today, the community suffers. The community lacks, because that church no longer becomes a beacon hope in that community. That church now is disdained in that community. The community now has no respect for the church. The community now looks down on the church. And so when that happens, it's just like a rippling effect. When the church loses its effectiveness, it's good for nothing. It's just like salt. The church is the salt of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
What salt does. Salt seasons, salt preserves. But if the salt loses its savor, and the savor is the essence that makes the salt potent, that makes the salt do its job. And if the church loses that savor, that substance, the purpose for what is going to be in the community, then it's good for nothing. That's just how it is. And that's the truth. And I'm a preacher, but that's the truth. Once we lose that, it's good for nothing. And that's why there's no hope in community. And that's why when we look at religion today, and we use religion in a broader sense, when we look at religion today, people say it's a joke. It's not true anymore.
Right.
because of the church. The church really, and it's the truth. We've lost our effectiveness. We've lost our effectiveness. That's what we've lost.
Sister Magenta, you want to say anything else? You still there?
Yeah, I am sorry. I wasn't able to hear part of what the Reverend was saying, so I had to go back in and pull up the YouTube stream, and then I
Oh,
heard
okay.
some of it. So yeah, no, personally, I'm not on the I wouldn't put me on like the Christian end of things belief wise. I'm like very spiritual. So to me, like a church, the concept of community and unity, that's what comes to my mind. I don't really put it in terms past that. So I guess other than that, like I mean, I wouldn't really have a whole lot of rebuttal for that. I mean, that's just
Right.
my personal point of view
Yeah.
on that.
Oh, well, I want to thank you for participating in the show as usual. You know, you're one of my favorite supporters. And I got to tell you, Henrietta Lack's grandson, we did a powerful interview. Sister Magenta hooked me up with the brother. I had him speak at our meeting today via Zoom.
Well,
So he did a phenomenal job. So I wanted to let you know that as well. And thank you so much for your support.
That's awesome. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.
My pleasure.
All right.
All right, sounds good. Bye-bye.
All right. All right. Before I close out, I want to, there's some other people's comments that weren't seen. I want to show them, but here's a comment that is seen, and this is for you guys from Sister Selena. Let me see if I can get it over here. Hopefully you can see it. She says, where does the panelists stand on a black agenda? Should it be a part of the vote for 2020? And how do black people get it on the table? Tavis Smiley tried in 2008. Now Ice Cube is trying to do something similar. Do we need to have a black agenda? Is this a thing we're missing in? Is this the thing we're missing in why black people can't get ahead? I would say we do need a black agenda, and I'll pass this to Nude one first. But we got to unite and start coming together. You know what I mean? And it's going to take more than just a few of us. We got to come together, have conversations like this, and talk. So automatically, we figured out one agenda for us is to vote. And that gives us a lot of political power. And if we all vote, our vote becomes important. And if we start voting, then we can start demanding for a vote. We can tell Biden what you're going to do. If you don't do nothing for us in 4 more years, you out of here. So that will put pressure on and that's political power. Economic power, supporting black-owned businesses, coming together, getting in organizations to promote entrepreneurship and teaching our kids to be entrepreneurs, teaching our kids to invest, people getting life insurance, leaving generational wealth to their families, stuff like that is economic power. So that's what I would like to see brought to the table, just an agenda in general. But let me start with you, New One. What do you think of about Sister Selena's comments?
yeah, I believe black agenda is important. It's just going to be different things to different people now, and that brings into account what I was talking about earlier, when it's going to be like it may take like a council of various groups of black organizations. And I mean, I'm talking about grassroots. I'm not talking about necessarily ones already formed, but any grassroots organization come together and we develop, put together all our ideas and then develop a framework for what the black agenda is, because it's going to be different to different people. A conservative person, black agenda may look different than a black socialist, for example. And I think that's
Yeah, you're right.
a portion of what we can do to to get the black community ahead. That's not going to be the only thing that's going to do it, but that's going to be a one vital portion that's going to bring us together. And yeah, I mean, there's a for me, what's reparations is important. The idea of Medicare for all, um, the idea of free public colleges and trade schools is also a great idea. And these are things that a lot of already so-called developed nations have already been enacting for generations. I did a semester abroad in Slovenia for my art studies, and I found out they didn't pay much. You just go. You know what I'm saying? It's like the extension of high school. They're just like, okay, well, from kindergarten to high school, you know, we don't pay for public school, so why not extend that to public colleges, and then we wouldn't have to worry about student loan issues and things of that nature. But I forgot the other part of her question. She did say something. I remember hearing Ice Cube mention something. Oh, she was talking about, is this something we could put on the table for 2020?
Mm-hmm.
Possibly. It's a little, it's cutting it close. It's like less than a month. Was it less than a month away? Like 30 days away from. I mean, it's something that I guess we could do, and I believe that there are already people possibly putting this together already, who's been doing it for decades as well, that we can look into. But I didn't hear all of what Ice Cube had to say. I heard of some of it, and I didn't have a problem with it. But I don't know why a lot of people had an issue with it, because they thought it was like holding your vote hostage. And like I said, for me, a vote is a transactional, process, because a person says, okay, I want your vote. I was like, okay, you want my vote? This is what you need to do to get it. And I was like, okay, for some reason now, over the past, few decades, that process has been inverted, and that needs to be changed. But
Right.
yeah, that's all I got to say on that. Also, my phone is like not charging. It's at 8%. I might just drop out eventually
You good?
and give you off your one.
We're about to close out. We're about to close out. My ribs touching, brother. I'm starving. I got that
Okay.
from you, Jay Rich.
Yeah.
but before I let everybody close out, and Noob, I go to you first. At my watch party, for some reason, those comments don't share. I guess you gotta go to the Real Truth and Power. Please, for all y'all, please hit that share button. Go to our YouTube channel. We're streaming on a few YouTube channels. We're streaming on the YouTube channel for the UNIA-ACL in Atlanta, Division 421. You can go to that one. Go to the Collect the Black People Movement YouTube channel. You can subscribe to that one. And we're also on mine, Real Truth and Power. And you can go in there, and I think if you go to those sites, as well as Facebook, your comments will be heard. But people in the watch party, I wanted to let their comments be heard. Anthony Brooks, shout out Coach Brooks. I got to get you in the next meeting. I had somebody might have been trying to donate, so I want to definitely get you in for your basketball team. He said, "What has the Democrats done but keep the blacks home separate?" So I want y'all to go back to that. And he said the Democrats are killing the country. Gloria, my aunt, Trump has been in office for 4 years. What has he done for the black community? Anthony Brooks says ATM machines in the church. Cash App Church is now in the business. So I wanted to get that. The right to vote means nothing if it's not helping us. That's Anthony Brooks again. My brother James Hill. Jimmy, why do we never see these Proud Boy groups in real life around here? They here. They out there, brother. They out there. So before we close out, you can close out on any of those things. New one, since you on low cell, let me get you to close out first.
Okay. Yeah. I'm like, the main thing I guess I want to address is, where he says the Democrats have only, separated families. Like, I get the idea. I don't know. I'm for a robust social safety net for people. Now that may need a certain level of reform. I don't know what. I can't really speak on what and who are the people who have enacted some policies that made that kind of exacerbated the problem.
Hmm.
And I'm assuming he's talking about like welfare and things like that, where it's like, if there's a man in the house, you might not get as much money, or things of that nature. I'm like, I don't know. I'd have to push against that a little bit. Like, I understand what he means, because the outcome is the outcome, regardless of And I can't say they all had good intentions. I know certain people had good intentions putting together social policies, so
Hmm.
I can't necessarily say that was the goal, but I can't argue that's not a a net result of the policy. Now, at the same time, there's when people put forth a policy, there's other people coming behind it and tearing it apart bit by bit. That's how quote unquote welfare reform. How that's how the food stamps situation is where it's at. So I've seen some people like comment about food stamps, not knowing that most people who are getting food stamps now have jobs,
Hmm.
and so it so yeah, I'm like I'll just push back on that. I agree with a lot of what other people are saying, and I'm glad there's a lot of people responding and commenting, because we definitely need a lot more conversation, and definitely a lot of clear-headed, non-judgmental conversations. Like, I really appreciate the brother from Nigeria coming on to speak, because I'm willing to talk to black people about black Trump supporters, why they support Trump, without like condemning them to be like, oh, you're a fascist enabler. Like, regardless of my feelings on the dude, I'd like to hear why you like him, and
Yeah.
what what your feelings are on the matter. That's pretty much all I got to say about that. There's a lot that went down, so I'll leave the rest to my other panelists to speak about it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Brother John, Reverend John, you want to close out?
Sure. I missed some of the questions that the callers had to close out on, but I would like to talk about, make this last statement about the black agenda. In order for us to get the black agenda pushed, we have to start with our local leaders. You know, for example, in Baltimore City, we had to start with Kwesi and Fume. We have to start with the mayor. Then we'll have to start with then it ends with the governor, pushing our agenda, and getting our community the help that it needs. That's how it's going to get done. It's great work that Tavis Smiley and Ice Cube, that they do, getting us together to talk and to meet. But meeting and greeting time is over. We need to put the plan into action. So that's how it's going to get done. That's how it's going to get done. We got to start local. We just can't go and just say, "Here, President Biden, here you go." No, we need to start it at the local level, and it has to work its way out. Uh, the problem with the African American community is that we don't have a foundation. We don't have the foundation of the plan. We want to start up, but we have to lay the foundation. And sometimes laying the foundation takes long, but it's critical. When you
Right.
lay the
Right.
foundation, you can build upon it. But we have no foundation. And so if we don't have any foundation, guess what? We're not gonna go anywhere.
Facts. Facts. Brother Jay Rich, you want to close out?
Sure. Um, Reverend, I would love to work with you on one of our shows, man. Upcoming shows, man. Pick your brain, man. I agree with you, and I've said the same thing 100 times, man. We have to start at the local level, and if we really want, I yes, we have to have a black agenda, but the only way that we're going to get that black agenda is if we have to get the majority of our meeting places involved to be able to go there and have a discussion.
Yeah.
So, and that not just, you know what I mean, like a meeting place where this is just a liberal bar, where this is just a liberal such and such. You have to be open, like Noob said, to bring everybody in, because that's the only way you're going to get.
That's right.
If at any point in time you think that everybody during the civil rights movement agreed with each other, you are absolutely wrong. They all agreed that we need change. And they all came together on that accord to make sure change happened. Now, the little things that they disagreed with, they were willing to put all that stuff aside to say, like, hey, man, we got to get their attention. We have to actually get them to put something on paper and sign into
Right.
law. And then we start to build on that in our own
Yeah.
communities. But at some point, we have to get the church back involved. We have to get the mosque
We have.
involved. If you do yoga, if you're a Buddhist or whatever, then we have to get them involved. You got a coffee shop, we got to get that coffee shop involved. If you can go out to Thursday night, open mic night, then you can come out Thursday night and have a political discussion before we start open mic. I mean, because that's the only way you're going to get heard. We have to come together and bring these feelings, and we have to bring these ideas together. So then we can say, like, all right, I mean, First Baptist of whatever is coming, and Pentecost, and Moth number 3 is coming, and you know what I mean, Mecca Learning Center is coming, and these people come together and they sit down and say, this is what our people want, and then we come up with a plan. We take all the things that we have in common that we can work out and be like, all right, now, like you said, now we take this to the city council. From the city council, we take this to our state legislation. We take this to the mayor. Now we're going to take this up to our federal representatives. We have to come together and sit down and talk at some point. Not talk at each other, but talk to each other
To
to
each
come
other.
to a
That's right.
general understanding. And the fact that it's saying, like, is it too late to have a black agenda on no, it ain't ever too late. They've known what's been going on, you know what I mean, with us for hundreds of years. So it's not like all of a sudden, like, oh man, we don't know where to start. You know where to start, because you knew where you know the destructive things that you have in place for
Right.
us. So you know how to remove those destructive things. So no, it's never too late. And if they say, like, oh well, we have to sit down and we have to talk, no, you don't have to do all of that. If that's what you're doing, then what you're really doing is stall. You don't want a black agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
instead of just being honest and truthful and just coming right out with it, it's just like, oh well, we have to talk to this person. No, you ain't gotta do all that. You can just go ahead and remove those roadblocks that are in place. Um, when we start talking about, you know what I mean, I've seen so many people talk about um blacks. They tired of these are black people talking about they're tired of black people. They just want a handout from the government. They just want this. They just want that. But I don't see these same people making these comments when that black tax dollar bailed out the banks on more than one occasion. I don't see them saying, you know what I mean, they just want a handout when that black tax dollar is pumping, what is it, billions of dollars into the stock market to make sure it doesn't crash. But when we start talking about, all right, well, hey man, if we saved Bank of America, Bank of America needs to start taking some of our mortgages off the books because you took our tax money. What are we getting in return? You need to start taking some of these student loans off the books. What are we getting in return for bailing out these companies? What we're getting is a higher unemployment rate because you're laying these people, you're taking the money, you're giving it to like your chairman, and you're laying everybody else off. And we're going to see the same thing once they pass this stimulus bill. They're going to, when they give all of these billions, if not trillions of dollars to the airlines, everybody's going, all these top people are going to get bonuses. people that actually keep the airline running. When we start talking about the pilots, when we're talking about like the people that clean and prep the airplane, when we're talking about the stewards, all of them getting laid off. They're getting laid off.
Yeah.
But when
Wow.
we start talking about, hey, how come our tax dollars can't work for us? Oh, you just want a handout. You just want a handout. Our thinking and what is socialism, you know what I mean, needs to change, because socialism is more than you and I getting a check from the government. Socialism is our tax money going to save a private business. So we need to expand our thinking. We need to expand, you know what I mean, on a lot of things, because a lot of these companies that we work for that act like they're on our side, Comcast, AT&T, they say like, oh yeah, you know, we want to do more for like the black community. We want to do this for the black community. But behind the scenes, they're paying millions of dollars to pass laws to make you pay more for their service, to make so that they can streamline their service to get more money out of your pocket. They're not for you. They're absolutely positively not for you. And with that, you should go into that booth and vote for the person, like vote for that person that's going to do something for you. You know what I mean? So even if it's, you know what I mean, the good reverend right here, everybody, we all decide we're going to write him in on the ballot, or Don goes in because he's not going to lead us into a burning church, as he put up on like the comments. We all go in and vote for him. The point is not, you know what I mean? At this point, you're not going to win. We're not going to win with us, you know what I mean? All voting a third party. They're not going to win the presidency. But what we can win is having a third party that will get
Right.
funding from the government. And now,
Right.
because that party is pretty much based all on our vote,
Yeah, you're right.
we can take our demands that we've already come up with on the local level and be like, hey, man, this is this is this is what we need. This is what we need in order for us to continue, you know what I mean, to support you. We need you to support us. Here's our list of demands. But until you go and actually move away from these Democrats and Republicans and actually start putting time and effort into another party, you're not going to get political power. No matter how many black people that they put in front of you, you're not going to get political power, because these black people are not in contact with you. They're not in touch with you. I give it to Miss Harris on a couple of occasions. She tried doing the right thing, and her donors pulled her to the side and was like, hey, man, I'm not donating millions of dollars to your campaign for you to start talking, you know what I mean, about giving, you know what I mean, giving back to the community. That's not what we're about. We're moving forward, you know.
Right.
So with that said, you know what I mean, go and vote for the party, the person that's going to do something for you. You know, not the one that is already, not the one that comes up in the last month and saying they're going to, you know what I mean, dump billions of dollars into your community, because they're not, because they could have already done so. Not the one that waits until like the last 2 months and says that now they're going to list the KKK as being like a terrorist group, because you could have, you know, a long time ago. You already knew who they were, you know. So yeah, you know, the one that says, you know what I mean, oh well, we have to stop militarizing like the police department, but yet you already got, you know what I mean, laws, already bills written up, you know what I mean, where you're going to continue to fund like the police department, knowing that we need education and jobs.
Facts. Before I close out, I just wanted to read a couple of points Coach Brooks said. What will a third party do? They control the narrative, bro. I think that was directed to you, brother Jay Rich. We need separation. It is not our job to save those that don't care about us. That's our problem. This might have been to you, Rev. The one person we have to give our lives to is God. What we are going through is what God has allowed for being disobedient. So wow, man, there's some powerful statements going on. Y'all don't get off. I'm gonna close out in the show, but stay on. I wanna see some new. If you can make it, stay on real quick and let
Yeah,
me
I got
close out. All right.
5%.
All right, I got you. We'll be done. Hold on. So, man, I definitely want to thank my guests and everybody that tuned in today. This was a powerful show. It was long, but again, it was powerful. And I see that we are really making changes with the Real Truth and Power podcast. I want to thank everybody, the Collective Black People Movement. Please, if you haven't, go to this website, www.cbpm.org. It's the Collective Black People Movement. It's also the headquarters of the UNIA out of Atlanta. And again, we're the UNIA out of Baltimore, and we're growing, we're getting powerful, and we got a lot of powerful shows coming up. Please go to that channel, and you can also go to my channel and check out Brother Jay Rich and Brother Nude One, Seriously Joking, and we're going to work on Brother Reverend Moran getting his own podcast, because, you know, it's not about blogs anymore, it's visual, so, you know, we can reach a lot of people by that. So we really want to just thank everybody for tuning in, man. Please share the show. Go to our YouTube channel. I'll share the link on Facebook probably tomorrow, so you can share that link. And I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Another great show, man. And we're doing some powerful things. So I'm just very proud of the show. Took some time off, and now we're back. So check out Real Truth and Power on YouTube. Also, we did a 24-hour Zoom for the 100th celebration of the UNIA-ACL Marcus Garvey organization, and it's up on our YouTube. It's long. It's 24 hours. It's broken into 4 points. But definitely go to the Collective Black People Movement's channel, the UNIA's channel, or my channel, and they're up on there. And again, we out of here. You guys hold on. Real Truth and Power. Ashe. We out.
Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it. Real truth and power, health, wealth, knowledge of self, uplifting the community. Let's talk about it.